All right, let's get right into it. We use apps like Uber, Airbnb, and DoorDash all the time. They feel so simple, right? But behind that slick interface, there's this hidden world of complex science making decisions for us literally every second. So in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and see how that invisible engine really works.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You open up a ride-sharing app, and suddenly the price is double what it was just an hour ago. Or that perfect Airbnb for your trip, mysteriously booked solid. Well, I'm here to tell you, these aren't just random glitches. Nope, they're the result of a massive, real-time calculation that's designed to manage millions of tiny, moving parts. And this is exactly why it's so important to understand what's going on under the hood. I mean, check out this number. The sharing economy is projected to be a $335 billion industry by 2025. This isn't just a bunch of convenient apps on your phone. It's a massive slice of the global economy, and it's all powered by some seriously sophisticated logic.
So what is that logic? Well, at its core, it's all about solving this just enormous puzzle every single second of the day. It's about matching what we want with who can provide it and doing it at the absolute perfect price. So let's take a look at the science that makes this all possible.
The secret sauce here is a field called operations research, or OR for short. The easiest way to think about it is it's the platform's brain. It is literally the science of making the absolute best, most optimal decision when you're faced with just countless options and constraints. Honestly, it's what keeps this entire economic model from just collapsing into total chaos.
Okay, to really get a handle on this, let's break it down into a sort of cast of characters. First, there's you, the customer. You're the demand side. Then you've got the provider, the driver or the Airbnb host. That's the supply side. And finally, you have the platform itself, the app. It's the mastermind pulling all the strings.
All right, let's start with us, the customers, because every single choice we make, every tap on that screen, it sends a signal that the platform has to immediately interpret and then react to. Our collective behavior. That's the fuel for this entire engine.
Just think about your own habits for a second. Are you loyal to just one ride-sharing app? That's what's called single homing. Or are you maybe a little more like me, where you check both Uber and Lyft to find the best price or the quickest pickup? Well, that's called multi-homing. And believe it or not, that one simple choice, to check another app, is what fuels the incredible competition between these platforms.
And you can bet those operations research models are tracking all of it. They're constantly analyzing how sensitive we are to price versus, say, how long we're willing to wait. They even model our strategic behavior. You know what I'm talking about. When you see that surge price pop up and you think, nah, I'll wait 10 minutes and see if it goes down. The platform sees you do that, and it learns.
Okay, now let's flip the script and talk about our second character, the provider. Because for them, this isn't just about getting from point A to point B. This is their livelihood. And trust me, they are playing their own strategic game to make the most of it.
So the platform basically has to manage two huge decisions that every provider makes. The first is called the extensive margin, which is really just a simple choice of whether to even turn the app on that day. Should I drive today? But then there's the intensive margin. That's about commitment. Okay, I'm working, but for how long? 2 hours? 8 hours? And those two decisions together determine the total supply that's available at any given moment.
And just like us customers, providers are incredibly strategic. They're not just waiting for a ping, they're repositioning themselves near a stadium right before a game ends. They're multi-homing too, running both Uber and Lyft at the same time to see who offers a better fare. They might even cherry-pick, tactically rejecting a short, unprofitable ride, because they're hoping for a better one to come along. The platform has to manage all of this, usually by using incentives to nudge drivers to where they're needed most.
So, all of this brings us to our third character, the mastermind behind it all, the platform itself. And its job? Well, its job is to be the ultimate matchmaker. It has to perfectly balance the totally unpredictable behavior of millions of customers with the super strategic decisions of thousands of providers.
So, the big question is, how on earth do they do it? How do they pull off this incredible balancing act, not just, once a day, but every single second? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple in concept, but incredibly complex in how it's actually done. It all comes down to two key things: sophisticated pricing and matching. Think of these as the two main levers the platform can pull to influence both supply and demand and get that balance just right. Okay, let's talk pricing. To make this work, platforms have a whole toolkit of strategies. Now, a few might use a static, fixed price, but most rely on dynamic pricing that changes in real time. We've all seen surge pricing, right? That little 1.2x multiplier that pops up during rush hour. But it gets even smarter. There's also spatial pricing, where they can set different prices for different neighborhoods in the same city, all to lure drivers exactly where they're needed the most.
And once that price is set, the matching algorithm kicks into high gear. And I mean, in a fraction of a second, it takes your request, it scans for every available provider nearby, it shares all the key info, and then it selects the one single optimal match to keep the entire network running as smoothly and efficiently as possible.
But look, the story doesn't just end inside the app. Far from it. The decisions made by these complex algorithms have massive ripple effects that touch our economy, our society, and even the environment.
Economically, it's a classic double-edged sword. On one hand, these platforms create huge value and often lower costs for us. But on the other hand, they can seriously disrupt traditional industries. For example, one study found that in Austin, Texas, the rise of Airbnb caused a direct 8 to 10% drop in profits for local hotels.
And socially, it's a very similar story. The upside is huge, flexible employment for millions of people, and some research even suggests a potential reduction in traffic congestion. But the downside? Well, that introduces a whole new set of challenges around things like regulation, service quality, and safety, things we're all still trying to figure out.
Even the environmental impact is a mixed bag. Get this. Back in 2016, bike-sharing programs in Shanghai saved over 8,000 tons of gasoline. I mean, that's incredible. But at the exact same time, the huge boom in food delivery has created a massive new problem with all that single-use packaging waste.
So, what's next? Where does this all go from here? Well, one thing's for sure. That invisible engine is only going to get more powerful and a lot more intelligent as new technologies start to come online.
And really, the next wave of this technology is already starting to arrive. I mean, just imagine artificial intelligence making demand predictions so accurate that surge pricing becomes a thing of the past. Or what about blockchain creating platforms that are so transparent they solve a lot of the trust issues we see today? All of this is going to be powered by these just ever-growing mountains of data, pushing the whole system toward a state of, well, hyper-efficiency. And all of that leaves us with one final and I think really critical question. As these platforms evolve from being just smart to being truly intelligent, who's going to benefit the most? Who will be the biggest winner in this incredibly complex game? Will it be the companies that own the algorithms, the providers who supply the actual service, or will it be you, the customer? The answer to that question is really going to shape the next decade of our economy.